Hey, this is the G3 podcast. We are currently on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Here today is Nermian, or Nerm, as he's known. And Rhino Shy Soul.
Yes.
Say hello, guys.
Hi.
And also,
I'm never doing that voice.
and also here today is a special guest, Tom Tharries. Tom Harris, who has a YouTube channel. He's a good friend of mine.
Very special guest. Hello.
Hello. What a start, Chris. That was the best introduction we've ever had. In 5 episodes, that was the perfect introduction. I couldn't ask for more. I couldn't
Can we
ask
have
for more.
more?
Thank you.
Yes, yeah. Hey, Chris, next week you're doing the intro as well, dude. That's how it's going.
Okay, cool.
Oh.
Sure.
I'm just gonna take the reins back again because you know what?
Thank you.
It's easy to do that. On the G3 podcast, we talk about a lot of things, obviously. And we have our guest this week, who is a friend of Chris. Because of our guest, and also because this video will be going on Chris's channel, a lot of it is going to be oriented around Doctor Who. So we have a little part in our film and TV segment, which will be about Doctor Who. But we're not there yet, and so we're not going to talk about that yet. So let's go through the first things that we're going to talk about, which will be what we always do, which is kind of like the live section. So it's been a week since the last podcast. We didn't really do much in that live section in the last podcast because we had to cut out. I can't swear in the first 5 minutes. We had to cut out a crap ton of just stuff because of time constraints. Because if we didn't, it would have been like a 2.5 hour episode, and we're not doing that. So let's just go through the first things. How is quarantine going for you, Chris? How has everything been for you this last week?
Not too bad for me. I've mostly just been on the internet, just like normal, I guess. Lots of interesting stuff has happened on Discord recently. But no, quarantine is just normal at this point. So yeah, just fine.
And for you, Alex, how's it all been?
Let's just say there've been huge updates to games lately. I've been keeping track of most games, so I'm just that guy that plays games, talk to friends.
Is that all you've been doing? Tournaments? God damn it, we would have had a tournament, Alex. I'm so sad about that. God damn it. These days.
I was hoping to fight Chris.
Yeah, Chris would have finally went to Alex's house. Would have been amazing. Would have been amusing.
I've been to his house. I mean, I've been outside. I'm stalking you.
I was thinking that, but instead I was like, oh, Chris is early. Unexpected.
God damn it.
I was early.
Damn it, Chris. And Tom, how have you been this up till this point? Because you obviously weren't here last week, so we couldn't say a week. But how have you been?
Obviously, I'm new. I'm a one-off. So yeah, quarantine in general, it's kind of weird how quickly I've just this has just become the new normal.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna feel weird, I think, going back to a time when it's not like this. In a weird way, like, I know that everyone wants to get back to that, and so do I, but I think there's going to be, like, when we do eventually get to that point, which I can't see being for the foreseeable future when we go to, like, proper normality, it is going to be really strange to not have these restrictions in place. Obviously, the way things work over here, because I'm in Wales, slightly different to you guys over in England, in terms of the rules. They're a bit more... They're not quite as relaxed yet as you guys, so like we're still in lockdown as far as I'm aware. Whereas I think you guys are in stay alert now, right?
It's a weird thing. I personally, without everything getting too political, because people get angry about me and my politics, I don't give a shit. But anyways, without getting too political, I personally do think that we are getting out of these stages, like we're getting out of this way too fast for me. We've already gone down to, so yeah, as you said, we went from lockdown to this whole stay alert thing, which was basically going back to the original plan, which was herd immunity, which is not how it works because there's no vaccine. So that's so stupid. But I'm gonna start again. So then we're like, okay, cool. Now I think it's the like sometime next month, or maybe I think it's the 7th of next month. I think I read it. It was the 7th. I can't remember which day exactly. Where they're changing the quarantine rules. The quarantine rules. From you being able to visit, like 2 households are being able to visit each other, I think. And then you also only have to stay a meter away from someone instead of 2 meters, which was the original idea.
This is my personal opinion, and I don't really care about who listens to this because it's not my podcast. I'm joking, but like if you want my personal opinion, they're kind of doing it backwards. Like where?
Oh, what's happened now?
Oh, I think you just muted.
Did I hear error 404?
He just muted. He just said where muted. I think the government cut him off. Tortured fandom. They cut him off, dude. Bro, Unit said it's aliens. Unit is cutting him off. We're done for. Play Unit Rocks. Let's get out of here. No. Shit! You're at my front door. Oh no. Unit salute.
I'm in my pants.
You're at my front door, and I'm in my pants. Bro, I love Rory's character. It's so stupid. Well, Tom got cut off there.
We should probably just continue until he gets back. I
Yeah.
guess.
So.
Sorry about that.
Oh, he's back.
He's back. Yeah.
What was I saying? Yeah, quarantine rules being backwards. If you ask me, they're kind of doing it backwards because schools are supposed to reopen on the 29th, but we still can't see relatives. It's like kind of
Yeah, I get it.
kind of the wrong way around. I don't know whether you'll have to cut out the long bit of silence.
No, that's fine. It's fine.
To be fair, you repeated yourself, so
Yeah, it would be easy to cut. It depends on how I feel when I'm editing it. If I think it's funny enough, I'll keep it. If not, I'll cut it. It just depends. If I find that
I'm in my pants.
I'm in my. We're being invaded by soldiers. And I'm in my pants.
Oh god.
Goddamn, bro.
Change my picture back to normal.
Oh my lord. Oh Jesus Christ. Okay. That's my mother laughing like an evil woman in the background. Wait, what's going on? Why does she sound like a witch? Did anyone else hear that, or was it just me?
No, I heard that.
Now that you've called her a witch, I'm just waiting for a slap to come across the
just run the corner. Oh my god. Oh Lord.
Tom, can we have you on every week? This is brilliant.
I don't know whether you'd be able to afford me.
I've got a story. So this is it's not a continuation, but it's kind of similar to my last stories. And if you realize my last stories, then you know how it's always been about this one guy, which we've come to call Sotopum Twat, because he looks like the fat controller from Thomas the Tank Engine, right? So we called him Sotopum Twat, but guess what? Sotopum Twat wasn't there today, wasn't there yesterday, wasn't there this whole week. I felt sad, I couldn't take fun of him. But I think Sotopum Twat has his sister.
What?
Because there was this woman. Every time I went to buy the essentials, right, there's this fucking woman who would be standing outside with a shopping list and a
person outside.
literally, there's a shopping list and a shopping cart full of just stuff, right? And I remember this woman because one day I was traveling home, right? And this woman asked me for to help her buy cat food, right? So I completely misunderstood the situation, right? I thought she was asking me to go in there and buy the cat food with money she had. Like maybe she was anxious to go to the counter, right, or something, right? I was like, okay, cool, whatever. No, she wanted me to pay with my money for her cat food. I was like, okay.
No.
I would say no, but I was like, you know what? I have a $5 spare. You know what? Fuck it, I don't care. I gave it to her. I was like, cool. Good Samaritan.
Treat yourself.
So I see this lady again, and I'm like, maybe that was a one-off, right? Maybe that was a one-off. She only needed that for that moment, or because she like miscalculated her money or something, right? No, she's out there every fucking week waiting for someone to come out so she can ask them if they can go back inside and buy something from her shopping list, right? Which makes no sense. If you're, because if you cannot buy this item, this thing, right? If you're not able to buy it yourself, why are you asking other people to buy it for you? And that is
Just
what.
let the cat die. You know, just let the cat die.
It just makes no sense. So she came up to me and she was like, "Oh, hey, could you go in there and buy me this thing?" I'm like, "What do you want?" She's like, "Oh, I want toilet roll." I'm like, "Okay. What do you want me to do?" She's like, "Oh, could you go in there and buy it for me?" I'm like, I remember you. And I was like, so in my head, I was like, yeah, I remember you, so I'm not going to use my money. So I went back and said to her, "Oh yeah, sorry, I don't have any money spare." And she was like, no, I don't want you to wait. What? she was not expecting me to say no. She was so confused. It was this moment where she was just so baffled at the idea of me saying no to her. She's like, I don't understand. I thought,
Like, what? You're not going to give me your money that you have? How dare you?
oh my god, I don't understand this.
It's like, I spent all my money buying a pheasant burger from McDonald's, and now I don't have money for my cat.
It's absolutely stupid. It's absolutely stupid. Oh my god. So yeah. Oh, I just realized the theme was still playing. I should probably not do that. The theme was still playing in the background but muted. I shouldn't.
10-hour stock music video.
But yeah, that was my story. It was amusing. It was hilarious. I actually hate this area because it's just full of leeches, like people who are leeches. It's stupid. Anyways, that's how it is. That's where we've got to so far in the tales of Nerm's life. That's the stage we're at. So yeah, how far have we gone into this? Let's just see. We've been 12 minutes into this.
15 minutes, yeah.
We're going to the next section. What is the next section?
Okay.
Oh, Chris, the next section is the gaming section. So, do you want to lead us into the gaming section, or should I lead us into the gaming section?
Hey, intro by Chris.
Let's see how bad I can do it.
You want to do it, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay. So everyone, I'm hoping you're part of the live thing on this because you can actually hear the audio. But let's go. Chris, lead us in.
I hate that.
Lead us in, Chris.
Oh, and the next section, and the next section is the gaming section. And we're in the gaming section.
Let's go into the gaming section. We're in the gaming section. Okay, so in the gaming section, quite a bit of news has happened. I haven't put them all down in our topics because I couldn't remember half of them. But The Last of Us 2 finally released.
Yes, I played it. It was a good game.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to release a review on it because I do not like The Last of Us 2.
I love it, but I hate the ending.
We're not spoiling it, so no one spoiled the game. Please, Alex, don't spoil the game. Yeah, a lot of there's been a lot of things going on with The Last of Us 2.
Darth Maul appears at the end as a hologram.
Darth Vader appears at the end and we call him Darth Maul.
I would say
Yeah.
but at the same time, I'm just like, no.
So what's happened is people so The Last of Us 2 has been review bombed on rating sites. So the official critic reviews have been 95s. A lot of them have been giving them 10 out of 10s for this game. Personally, I think this game is a 7 out of 10. It's not a 10. That's just my opinion. But what's happened is that user reviews, as we can see here, Jesus Christ. This got review bombed to the point where the critic score is 95, where the user score is 4.3. 4.3.
This is just
I'm
like Doctor
sorry.
Who Series 11.
I was just gonna say that it's Doctor Who series
Yeah.
all over again. Where like the tomato officer is like 98% fresh, and then like the user rating's
I
like
can't even
2.
talk about it because it's so annoying.
You can't talk about it, but there are things in The Last of Us 2 which I personally think is just it just doesn't work. Which we'll probably talk about on another day. When this isn't as fresh, I still want people to play the game to experience it themselves. But I'll also do a review on that as myself, where I'll discuss why I think this isn't a 10, but it isn't a 4.3. Like it's a 7. That's where I go for that. But yeah, that's the first thing that's gone on with in the gaming news. The next little bit is something that literally happened about 30 minutes ago upon recording. Is I don't know how, but every time we do a gaming section, CD Projekt Red is somehow able to get Cyberpunk into this fucking gaming section every week, every time. So they are doing an event tomorrow called Night City Wire, which I will be live streaming. Chris will probably be there as well, so you guys can come chat. Well, you wouldn't be able to know it's there because by the time that this episode's up, that would have happened already. So what am I saying? Anyways,
Yeah. What are you doing?
you will see on the screen now. If I remember to edit it. If you're watching the YouTube version, there are screenshots and concept art that have been released from CD Projekt Red of the new game, and all I can say is this game looks fucking fantastic.
I'll be honest about Cyberpunk 2077. When was it actually announced?
It was so the initial release, not the initial release, but the initial announcement was, I think, in 2013.
That's the thing. I'm not convinced it's actually going to come out. You know, I think I'm genuinely not convinced it's going to come. I think it's I was going to say it's going to be like a Final Fantasy VII situation, but that did eventually come out, the remake. But it seems like one of those things that's just been in development for so long that I just don't know whether it's going to be able to live up to the hype that it's kind of built.
Yeah.
There is a misconception of how long this game has been in development. The game was announced in 2013 to be an IP of CD Projekt, but it didn't start development until 2015, until they finished Witcher 3 and all its DLC.
It's still like half a decade.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Do you know how long they've been making the next Skyrim, dude? That thing ain't even coming out until like 5 years, and that game's like how old? GTA still hasn't come out, and that's a 7-year-old game. Like,
I'm slowly dying from the new games coming out. I just feel like they're all dying now. The brand new game, it just
the issue is nowadays, because whenever we grew up, games would come out so freaking often, right?
Yeah.
But because games are such bigger in scale now, it takes so much longer for the games to be made. Because
more people need to work for gaming companies.
but then the training for gaming is really, really, really long. And also it's like
the reboots have been developing better than new games.
yeah, because reboots just based off nostalgia, and that's the easiest thing you can do.
They already have the art style.
Reboots will always sell in every medium because there's already a pre-established fan base there. So no matter what, they're going to buy
I know
it.
what the best game is.
But
I know the best game in the whole world.
what is the best game in the whole world? SpongeBob.
VR chat.
Fucking VR chat. No! SpongeBob! The new SpongeBob remake. That's the shit, dude.
SpongeBob rehydrated.
But that's my thing, dude. I need to get that game, bro. SpongeBob.
SpongeBob? Oh god, Patrick.
It's funny we mentioned GTA 5 earlier because did you see the PS5 reveal event?
Yes,
The first game that they showed off for the next gen.
we talked about this last week, where the first thing they show is the Rockstar logo, and then they purposely made Michael's voice sound different so you don't know it's Michael. So you're like, oh my god, this is GTA 6. Oh my god, oh my god. And then you see Michael, and you're like, fucking hell.
Tom, I thought you already knew that Gnome had live streamed it because that was how I was getting the information quicker than you.
I didn't. I thought you just had some time travel ability. I was like,
I just have really good internet, dude. I just have ridiculous internet. Something that takes these guys a whole day to upload the podcast episode takes me 20 minutes. Like, it's actually kind of crazy. But
fair enough.
yeah, it's that moment where like games take a long time. So it's the moment where people nowadays, when games take forever. This game has taken so far 5 years of production. Right, it was meant to come out in April. They delayed it till September, and then last week they delayed it again till November. Because they needed additional polishing. Game reviewers and game journalists are playing the game currently and are going to give out their opinions tomorrow, right after their event, Night City Wire. So the idea is that after the event, I would then go read some of these reviews or listen to some videos or whatever of these reviews and kind of get an opinion of where the game is going, right? Because the current meme in the gaming space is Cyberpunk is never going to release, or Cyberpunk's going to release in 2077, because it's not the game title, it's the game's release date. That's why it's called 2077. That's the kind of like meme, right? But it just simply comes down to the idea that games take forever nowadays to make. And most of the times, like a Rockstar game, people go, oh, but Rockstar, they announced their thing, and then 2 months later they release Red Dead Redemption 2. But they don't tell you how long they've been making the fucking game. They've been making the game since GTA 4. Like, they've been making this game for a long time. Like,
I think the problem is when companies are too eager to announce things.
Yes.
And then because it makes their E3 and well, not E3 anymore, but their presentations look a lot better because, oh, look at all the stuff we announced, even though it's not going to come for another decade, you know, it's like, it makes them look better.
It literally is what Bethesda done with Starfield and the next Elder Scrolls. They're like, oh my god, guys, we're making these games, and now they're big, and I think we talked about this before in an episode, but they keep getting asked questions like, oh, when are you guys releasing Starfield? When are you releasing Elder Scrolls 6, right? And they're like, yeah, we're not releasing that for a long time. I don't know why you're asking. And I'm sitting there going, because you showed them that you're making the game. What do you think they're gonna do? Not ask when the game's coming out. What is going on? Are you stupid? This company's so dumb.
It's a mess. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of Bethesda fans out there, and I'm one of them. You know, I love Fallout, but and Skyrim for that matter. But it's just a mess, man. They've become the new EA. They've literally become the new EA to me, because rather than take their time with the new Fallout game, you know, that really fleshed it out and was really, you know, an improvement over Fallout 4, because I enjoyed Fallout 4, but I acknowledge that there is a lot of things that they could have improved and could improve in a sequel, and I was looking forward to seeing that. But instead, they decided to go for this Fortnite freaking... I said frickin', so we're good. You know, this Fortnite Fallout clone, and I was just like, why? And then it came out, and it was buggier than No Man's Sky was upon release. And I'm just like, what are you doing? It's not as if you're an indie studio like Hello Games was. You've got these massive budgets. What's your excuse, you know? To be honest, with the amount of gritty reboots there have been over the past decade, I really wouldn't be surprised if that was something that exists.
Oh, goodness.
In a world where circular cubes get destroyed by a big yellow cube. It's just like...
It's like Switch rendering.
Okay, so Chris, I'm gonna take this segment change because let's not fail that. Well, we're halfway through the podcast so far. Again, when we're recording these podcasts, it goes by so fast all the time. We're already halfway there.
It does.
But let's go into the next section, which is the film and TV section, where this is where we're going to start our general conversation about all these things.
Film?
Alex, shut the front door! God damn it, dude!
I don't have the front door. It's always shut.
Oh my god!
Open it and close it again.
We're in the film section. Alex, why did you speak? What is wrong with you?
Cheers.
So so this film and TV section is specific, because it's on Chris's channel. So Chris, why wouldn't you introduce what the session's about?
Because Tom used to run a Doctor Who YouTube channel, and us two and also Nerm are big Doctor Who fans, we've decided that we were going to watch a few Doctor Who episodes and sort of talk right now about how we feel the show has changed over the years since it came back in 2005, and yeah.
Just thought I'd get that. It's just what I do. It's words.
I gotta get my notes ready.
Thesis prepared.
That was just gonna write all this down.
But yeah, that's what we decided to do. So there were a few episodes that we watched. So Chris and I were sitting together, and well, not sitting together because quarantine. We were sitting in a voice call together, and we're talking, and we had this kind of idea where it was like, okay, what if we review every good episode or good, like, because some of them are two-parters, I think. But every good episode with a doctor, right? Ever since the reboot or the ninth Doctor, right? What is the best episode of each Doctor? And then we're gonna kind of compare them up until the moment to the latest episode and kind of see how Doctor Who's changed. So the episodes we went for was for the ninth Doctor was season 1's Dalek. And then for the 10th Doctor, which was season 4's episode Midnight. Then for the 11th Doctor was Vincent and the Doctor. Then for Jesus Christ. Then for the 12th Doctor, Underlake and Before the Flood. And I don't think we got one for Jodie's because she hasn't finished, and also I think she sucks. So
everyone's gonna kill you right now because you just said season, and that's Classic Who in New Who series.
Pog off. They know what I mean, pedants.
We'll have to address where the show's at now, though. If we're going to talk about how the show's changed, we will probably have to address it, even if we don't specifically mention an episode.
Yes.
I can see some rage in like, mine's mostly subsided, over doing YouTube stuff, but I feel like Nim exploded when he said, "It's not that good."
Okay, so I'm Doctor. So Doctor. So there are a few things that I'm very passionate about because of me growing up. It's Doctor Who, Star Wars, and what is the last one? There was one more thing I haven't watched it in a long time. But it's Doctor Who, Star Wars, and Sherlock. That was it. Those are the three things, TV wise, or
if
film
you said
wise.
Torchwood.
No, Torchwood I'd love, but that's for a completely different reason. But for Doctor Who, Sherlock, and Star Wars, and anytime I could talk about them, I will always have the most visceral reaction because Doctor Who has been there all my life, and I'm not gonna start about how
Sherlock's gonna say dead.
Sherlock. I'm not talking about Sherlock today, but there's a lot of opinions I have in Sherlock as well. But fucking hell, let's just start with the first episode of this kind of like long run, which is Dalek. So I'm gonna first ask, what is your general opinions on Dalek? And I'm gonna go with Chris. What did you kind of think upon reviewing? What are the things that you've remembered that you loved, kind of saw that you didn't like a bit, and what was your general opinion? That's the question of Dalek.
Yeah. Going into it, I consider it the best episode of Doctor Who of all time, and one of the best stories ever written out of anything. I actually started watching it, and I didn't really like how we went from the pre-credits into the titles. Like it just all of a sudden these army people just turned up, and it didn't really seem like they would have known that anyone had arrived. It just felt really random. But then after that, it was just like, boom, 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 boom. Everything makes sense. I got the bit where the Doctor thinks that the Dalek is going to shoot him, and the big reveal of the Dalek, and then I love the bit where the Dalek is like going up the stairs, and I love the fact that the Doctor isn't in that scene because he had already seen the Dalek fly up some stairs in a previous episode. I think overall it is really good. I saw Into the Dalek the other day as well, and there's a lot of sort of references to Dalek in that one. But no, honestly, the most I can really say is just it's really good. There's very little wrong with it. Adam, I would say, good in this one, not so great in the next one. But that's
Adam's the guy with the forehead thing, right?
Yeah,
I hate that dude.
He wasn't told the rules, and he seemed a nice guy in Dalek. I feel bad for him.
Such an idiot. I don't know why they called Mickey the idiot. They should call him they should call him the idiot because he's such an idiot. Idiot.
Nicki Minaj or something.
Idiot. Tom, what was your opinion of that episode?
Okay, so I think Dalek is probably might be my favorite episode of series 1. I think it's obviously like looking at it in the context of when it was released, it was very important that the Daleks were done right in that story because obviously they'd kind of become a joke by the time that episode had released, and even long before that, and it was
Peace
very
and
important.
love. Peace and love.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you remember that? Yeah.
Yes, I do. Wasn't it a Vodafone?
And it was a
Peace
cat.
and love. Good damn it.
Yeah, it was an advert, so it's very important for them to get the Daleks right in this. And in my opinion, it's like probably the best, if not one of the best, like Dalek episodes of the revival. They don't get much better after this, unfortunately. Obviously, there are some standouts. Obviously, Stolen Earth and Journey's End and things like that. But obviously, they're not solely focused on the Daleks. In fact, Modern Who kind of did this weird thing where, kind of similar to the classic show, it got more and more focused on Davros.
Yeah.
Because obviously, Series 4, you had him reappear in Stolen Earth, Journey's End. Then he came back again in, I believe, Series 9 was his next appearance.
Yeah.
And in every appearance, he was given more focus than the Daleks. But in this, it just shows, this episode in particular shows how effective one Dalek is, and how destructive they can be. One of my favourite little bits in this episode is that when the Doctor actually looks scared of a old Cyberman head. And the reason I love that scene is that unlike what would happen later on with Stephen Moffat and to a lesser extent Chris Chibnall, it doesn't really feel fan wanky. It kind of just feels like something that would be there and wasn't forced into it for the sake of it being there. It worked in the context of the episode. It makes sense that this Henry Van Staten guy who collects alien stuff would come across a cyberhead, and it made sense in context, and it brilliantly sets up the Cybermen for the next series as well. Yeah, I love that scene, and I love Eccleston's performance in this. Eccleston really doesn't give a bad performance throughout the entire time he's in the role, to be honest.
Yeah. Go on.
I was just going to say my final thing was I love that the villain is actually the human more than anyone. Before that got really overdone in not just Doctor Who but science fiction in general. It works really well here because it shows that even though the Dalek is like the sort of object of the Doctor's scorn, humans can be just as bad. And I think that's an important lesson for people to have, is that it's not just, evil aliens who can be like this, humans can be like it as well. And that scene where Henry Van Staten is torturing the Doctor like he's just another artifact for him to sort of experiment on, that was genuinely quite threatening and quite terrifying. And when he's talking about how, why should I sell the cure for the common cold when I can do like 1,000 other versions of it that aren't complete or something like that. Like that's something that I can actually imagine the billionaires of today actually doing.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do actually have a cure for the common cold, given the way it was written in the episode.
Like, Henry Van Staten is such a well-written character. If I have one complaint, it's kind of how this episode ends, because Henry Van Staten gets his memory wiped, and the woman just kind of automatically takes charge of his entire company. And I'm just like, I'm not really sure that's how that would work in real life, I feel like you'd have to have an explanation for why Henry Van Staten just doesn't exist anymore. Like, surely it would be handed down to, like, a relative or something. Or, like, an executive, not his assistant. That always played weird to me, the fact that she was just like, oh, just drop him somewhere beginning with M. It's like, bitch, I don't have the power to do that.
And she'd only been his assistant for like a few hours because she comes in at the beginning.
It's like, that's one hell of a promotion.
Yeah.
So, for me, this is okay. So I have very unique, well, not unique, but I have a very exact feel and look that I always have for Doctor Who, that I think is the perfect thing for Doctor Who, is where Doctor Who, in my opinion, should not always be mega serious, right? Because then everything is always mega serious. The moments of lightness, the moments of care, of compassion, the moments of emotion won't be as powerful if everything was fucking depressing, right? So this episode balances that perfectly for me. And it's a thing that I feel modern Doctor Who, as in like the latest series or episodes, right, don't have, is that balance of serious and light moments. So the moment where the Doctor and Rose come out, and it's just casual conversation, right? And then as Chris said, they get the guns pointed towards them, right? But I like the idea is how it started off with like this whole everyday thing. Because these guys are travelers, right? They're explorers. They're just going around the galaxy, no, the universe, just looking at stuff, seeing things, experiencing life, right? And that's one of the elements. Also, I think that later series don't really hamper down. Is that this is all the stuff's going to happen as the Doctor and the companion just traveling, doing stuff. And not it's not meant to feel like everything is, oh, we now got to go to burning Gallifrey so we can go find the Master who's now making Gallifrey Cybermen human Time Lord things. No, like it's just them exploring, and then things happen to the Doctor, right? That are out of the Doctor's control. And one of these things is that this random collector somehow had a Dalek as their prized possession, right? And I like the idea that a lot of this episode doesn't follow the Doctor, but it follows the Dalek, right? And it also shows you a lot of. It shows you. People originally hated how this humanized the Daleks, right? But I 100% think that the humanizing Dalek made them more brutal, if that makes sense. Because instead of them
It's
just
like
being
that is a defect, and that one can destroy the entire world.
Because the idea is like it's not like because the idea is like Daleks are basically Nazis, right? That was the original kind of like idea, right? The Nazis, right? They're just these people just hate everything which isn't them, right? But then humanizing these monsters, right? Humanizing these monsters and making it so it's like they and I think the episode with Davros and Peter Capaldi did this good as well, but not as good as this episode did, which is giving these villains like they're not mindless drones, right? They have emotions, right? They have feels, they have dreams. A Dalek has a dream, guys. It has aspirations, right? And then the idea is that like one of the best things I find of this episode is where the whole episode is leading up to the point where the Doctor and the Dalek meet again, right? That's the idea. It's that first bit, they get separated and then they're all trying to meet together. And then that last point where they meet is where the Doctor doesn't shoot the Dalek, right? And the Dalek doesn't shoot the Doctor. They both kind of see how similar they are as characters because of the Time War, right? That's the kind of idea, how war kind of ruined them both, right? But if you look deep down, really deep down, the Doctor, as many times it says in Doctor Who, would make a good Dalek because the Doctor is not that different from these monsters, and it's a good way of doing storytelling which shows another side without having to have you like without having to go, okay, we are telling you that the Dalek isn't bad. It just shows you the Dalek isn't bad by relating it to the Doctor and how the Doctor is right. And I just think it's masterfully done in how it balanced the tension and Christopher Eccleston's scene where he just gets mad at the Dalek is so good. It's just so good. It's what I call the Doctor moment, and it's probably one of the best Doctor moments out of any regeneration in like the reboot, and as I'm gonna call it, right? It's just one of the best moments because it's him first being scared, like let me out, and then when he realizes the Dalek can't kill him, he just becomes cocky as shit. He's like, "Oh, you can't shoot me! You can't shoot me, Dalek. What are you gonna do?" And it's just that moment where it shows how human this character is. How this character, even though he's lived for a long time, seen a lot of things, still fears something. And it's just a great episode. And if I compare it to the I can't remember the episode with Davros and Peter Capaldi, where he goes into like fucking thing and he's like, "What's your name, kid?" Davros, and then he goes, "Oh my fucking god!" Like that episode.
One's so good.
But the thing I love about that episode is how they showed the whole Dalek not being able to do stuff thing, right? As it's wired into them, even if they want to do it. On the outside, you can't see them. So, like when it's like peace or like mercy, it just says exterminate, right? When Clara was doing that, right? And I like that.
With what you mentioned as well, with the Doctor's reaction to the Dalek, that is something that has kind of been lost since then.
Yeah.
Because if you compare it to the kind of the closest episode we have to Dalek in the current show, which is probably Resolution, because it's a Dalek breaking out and exterminating.
Oh my god! Sorry, I just realised Daleks are coming. No, wait. Oh.
Yeah, they're coming back in Revolution. The Daleks, but yeah. My
Doctor
point
Who
was,
is repeating itself, isn't it?
if you, yeah, that's basically, yeah, that's my thesis, which I'll get onto in a bit. But then, with Resolution, the Doctor meets the Dalek and has literally no reaction to it. It's just a regular.
And I hate that. It's them trying to give.
It's basically just a regular Tuesday for the Doctor, where it's like, oh, there's a Dalek. It's like there's no impact to it anymore.
Also,
it's like,
sorry to interrupt you again.
That's alright.
One thing that I also hate, because we're gonna keep straying back and forth, is that I dislike what's his name? Fucking bitch. Chibnall. I hate Chibnall's real effort to send this message that the Doctor's a pacifist, right? I really hate it because we've seen the Doctor murder civilizations like with the snap of his finger. Now now she's a pacifist. She will never get. Have you not watched the last 10 years?
There's a difference between being a pacifist and being a coward.
And as you were saying, the moment when the Doctor meets Jodie's Doctor, the 13th Doctor meets the Dalek, she doesn't got a Doctor moment. There's always these. It's like Jodie's Doctor's been giving points where she can have a Doctor moment, and she does nothing with it, right?
The closest she's gotten to me is the scene in Haunting of Villa Diodati, where she's like, this team structure isn't flat, it's mountainous.
Yes! Yes,
that's the closest she's gotten to me, where I was like, okay, maybe you are the Doctor, but other than that, I'm like...
I don't think Chris... I remember showing Chris that section because he didn't watch it. He didn't watch that episode. And that's the only time I was like, bro, Jodie might have something. And that's the time I was like...
That's not true, because you liked a bit in Essential of the Cybermen as well.
Which one?
I don't remember which bit, but Essential of the Cybermen. You liked a bit in it.
I don't remember. But I do remember the one that that's talking about where she where she basically just goes, "Bitch, I'm the fucking leader here. Deal with it." And I was like, "Bro, oh my god!" And then they did nothing with that. I was like, nothing. They did nothing with it.
But I think that bit was well written, but I don't particularly think that Jodie said it particularly well.
Jodie said it as good as she could say it, and it still worked. And it's the best Doctor thing she's done. And that's a testament to the writing of that specific section. Yeah. It's just a testament. But why
couldn't Alderton's pretty good.
Why couldn't the two scenes be there?
Do you find it interesting though that the closest thing we got to a Doctor moment for the current Doctor wasn't written by the showrunner?
Yes, yeah. I find that so interesting. The showrunner doesn't get his own fucking character.
The worst stuff in the show at the moment is by the showrunner.
He doesn't get his own character.
He's not a fan. He's a critic. I hate when people say he's a fan of the show.
He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. I don't think he understands what made the Doctor, what makes the Doctor the Doctor in its current iteration. The Doctor in its current iteration.
You can be a fan of something and not get it. That's the thing. You can be a fan of something and not understand it. A lot of people are a fan of Rick and Morty, but they just see the funny memes and stuff. They don't actually get.
But going by how Chibnall has been through like his younger days of being critical of Doctor Who, and how when he was writing Doctor Who in like the T. Davis and
Stephen Moffat.
Moffat era, right? It's always been this thing where like I always remember someone going, "Oh, you remember those? You remember what's the fucking episode with the fucking black cube? Power of Three.
Power of
Oh,
Three.
remember Power of Three? That was a decent episode by Chibnall." And everyone's like, "Yeah, it was a decent episode. Maybe he should be a showrunner." And then you see now, and you're like, "Bro, this guy is doo doo. This guy sucks."
No. Tim to me, when he wrote that, was like, that was a good episode. That was fun. I do not think he's good enough to be a showrunner. That
When I watched that, I think he's not a showrunner, but that was a fun episode.
He just doesn't get it, and that's my and I just find that really sad.
I'll say about like obviously getting back to Dark as well. I'd say the side. I know more about the side characters, not even the main characters, the side characters in this one episode than I know about the companions across 2 series in this current show.
Why do I care more about Graham than I care about the fucking Doctor? It's her fucking show. Why do I care more about this old man than the main character who has had 50 years of iteration and change and character development, and I do not care about this character? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Like, I know more about Henry Van Staten in this one episode than I know about Yaz across 2 series.
It's
And that's not even an exaggeration. Like,
Probably
true.
Ryan as well.
Don't
You know,
get
I
me
know
started
more-
on Ryan. Don't get me started on Ryan.
I know more about Adam Mitchell than I do about Ryan. Sure, he's an asshole, but at least you had a character. At least you had that. What does Ryan have?
Doctor.
What does Ryan have? He likes basketball.
What does Ryan have? He likes basketball and he's dyspraxic. That's all he has. That's his character. That's it.
I hate that bit in Time with Children where he just throws some ball and he gets it exactly perfect.
That's one of the cringiest things I've ever
Also,
Like, every time I play basketball, I'm dyspraxic. Every time I play basketball, I take like 50 shots before it goes in the basket, and he can do it first time. That kid does not have dyspraxia.
also,
I'm sorry.
what sucks is that like when so before we go on to the next one, which is Midnight, where I'm just gonna say this real quickly about just Doctor in general before so I can get this opinion out. T. Davis's era, right, was unique to him because he knew how T. Davis obviously writes in a specific way, right? Does characterization in a specific way. He made Doctor Who more of a drama than it is a sci-fi show, which, in my opinion, worked way better than anyone going, "Oh, we're gonna make it more sci-fi than drama." You've shown me that for 2 series now, and that sucks. Go back.
Well, you say they made Series 11 more like sci-fi than drama. Series 11 was supposed to be character based.
What?
That's the thing is that Series 11 was meant to be character based episodes. And I'm like, what character?
It had no story arc.
It's like, okay, every showrunner had a unique feel. If you make me if you blindfold me, make me put earphones on and play an episode from each generation, I would know which one is which by the sound, by the acting, and just the general feel, right?
You wouldn't even need to hear their voices.
Well, no, not even that. Just like, just show me anything of like just random characters, right? Speaking of any, I would even do a test of this, right? And I know I will get it right because you can feel how different it is, right? And T. Davis had this very unique outlook. The thing I loved about T. Davis' Doctor Who, it felt a lot like Star Wars, like original Star Wars, right? And so the issue that I have with modern Star Wars is it's very simple. Whereas original Star Wars, like they'll go to other planets and there'll be alien languages and they'll subtitle the alien languages, right? To show that this is this is an alien planet. They're not speaking English or common or universal, whatever, or galactic or whatever they call it, right? These guys are aliens, right? So it's like Greedo or was it Watto? What's the guy's name? Like he speaks a language, right? And that shows that it's an alien thing, right? Whereas now in modern Star Wars, everyone speaks fucking English or whatever language you're watching the film in, right? Whereas Doctor Who in T. Davis's era, they'll go to fucking planets and there'll be languages everywhere, cultures, aliens, whatever. Nowadays, Doctor Who
I love how. Actually, no, that's more Remington than the Doctor thing. Go on.
But it's like how, but then and then Moffat kind of had that, but then he wanted the Doctor to be very, he wanted Doctor to obviously be very, not filmic, but have this kind of like grandiose feel to the Doctor, where the Doctor's like this god, the Doctor's like this man who walks amongst everyone, right? The Doctor peers over everyone, and that sometimes is a bad thing, which I like that he did. He didn't make it always a good thing that the Doctor was always above everyone, which is why Good Man Goes to War
Yeah.
is probably one of my favorite Doctor episodes. But we didn't use that.
Flatline, where he's like, you were a great Doctor, Clara. Goodness had nothing to do with it. That one line, it says so much about the Doctor. That one line says more about the Doctor than 2 entire series of Chibnall stuff.
And then
And like,
Yeah.
okay, and then Chibnall stuff goes on to
Oh,
being,
goodness.
and then Chibnall stuff goes on to being very what's the word? Not
Awful.
it doesn't have that feel of Doctor Who. That's the first thing that I always say, is that this does not feel like Doctor Who. Like even Moffat, when Moffat did all the changes he'd done, it still felt like Doctor Who in the end to me. All the changes that he did, like right, when we go to Chibnall's like, okay, we're gonna have 3 companions, right? We're gonna have everyone we're gonna have a female Doctor. We're gonna push the boundaries, right? We're really gonna make this amazing, right? We're gonna have these character stories. Each episode's gonna be like a mini film. Fuck off! It's shit. Like I don't think you get it. I'm like, oh, we're gonna have
We're gonna make every episode an hour long. We're gonna cut it down to 15 minutes.
we're gonna have one of the episodes end where they're all in space and you're meant to go, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And they randomly get teleported to a planet. What? How do
It's
you
like-
think that was good?
That was so stupid. They would
figured
have.
out why Chibnall's Doctor Who feels so off. Sorry to cut you off there. I think I finally figured it out when you were talking about it then, about the episode length. It feels
Yeah.
like Chibnall still thinks that Doctor Who is classic Doctor Who.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
if you think about it, right, the way he structures his stories, it feels like they should be 6-parters. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel like they should be squeezed into these 50-minute formats.
But-
Especially
but
with
if-
the
if
number
you
of
say-
companions and the slow development of the Doctor, very slow, microcosmic development of the Doctor.
Minuscule. Like,
Minuscule development. It feels like he doesn't realise how much the show has changed since the classic
Yeah.
show, because obviously one of the things he said, one of the things that was kind of parroted by the media when Series 11 was coming out is that it's more like the classic show. And I
Yeah.
genuinely feel like Chibnall still thinks that Doctor Who hasn't really evolved since then. Because
Yeah.
you look at the way he structures episodes, you know, for 3 companions, that happens in the classic show. The difference being with the classic show is that you have a lot more time to develop those characters in, like,
Yeah.
3 hours per episode or however long it is. Whereas in, like, 50 minutes, you just can't do it. You know, you've
Yeah.
also got the fact that the Doctor kind of is this, you know, mystical god entity like what was proposed in the Cartmel Master Plan.
Mm.
It feels to me as though he hasn't really, like, taken notes about how the show has changed,
Yeah.
and he's wanted to take it back to basics, but by doing that, he's kind of disregarded all of the development that's gone into the show currently, because this doesn't feel to me like the same character as it did in the Chris Eccleston era with Dalek.
Mm.
It feels like a completely different character, because
It feels like a different show.
can you imagine Jodie Whittaker's Doctor in Dalek? Can you
No.
imagine it?
yeah, it's cool.
Oh, goodness me, Alex.
But that's what I mean. Like it just doesn't fit.
No, it
You
doesn't.
know?
fit.
It just doesn't fit. And like with
She
Um,
would be the companion.
God damn it, dude.
with what you-
It doesn't fit. I agree. It 100% doesn't.
and like with what you were saying about the world building in the Russell T Davies era, like one of my favourite scenes in End of Time is that scene where Captain Jack's in the bar and there are a bunch of aliens chilling out.
Oh,
I
that-
told
that's-
Chris I told Chris the connotation of that scene, and you only really get the connotation of that scene if you watch Torchwood, right? And
Yeah.
and there's a have you watched Torchwood, Tom?
I have not.
Oh, that
You
scene.
seen
Once you
one
watch Torchwood, that
episode,
scene has a complete different, like, there's a whole different context.
Yeah.
Captain Jack's situation is so much more sad once you watch Torchwood. It's
Yeah,
My point with that was that
Yeah.
can you imagine, you know, the Pating and the Tim Shaw
in
the
the
couple
cantina.
in a room together? You can't, because they just don't feel like they connect at all.
No.
Kind of like Classic Who, it doesn't really feel like it connects. It's all just sort of
Yeah.
self-contained, whereas Russell T Davies had this great sense of a world. It's like it
Yeah.
was a smaller world, but it's like everything felt connected. Stephen Moffat was a little more loose, but like you know, with episodes like Time of the Doctor, it still proved, and like the Pandora.
And Pandora opened, yeah.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, like, it still very much shows that it's one universe, whereas the Chibnall era doesn't feel like that. It almost feels like Rick and Morty in the sense that they just hop to different realities whenever they feel like it, because it doesn't feel like
Yeah.
there's this cohesive
Like
sort
Rick
of
and Morty.
world.
yeah.
Hey, Morty.
It's like Rick and Morty.
Morty, Morty, where are you?
But it does feel like that. That they do just it comes back to when, and I have a good example of this is in the latest series, right, where they're doing the whole timeless child stuff, right, and I've come to terms to the timeless child. I now have to deal with it, right? I just have to, even though I hate the idea, not because it got rid of the law, right? Just because I think that they did it to the wrong character. The timeless child should have been the master. That is my opinion. No,
Everyone
Chris,
says that.
you know this.
No.
The timeless child should have been the master because it makes way more sense
me
to why
explain what
the
the
master
timeless child should have been.
always comes back. Why the master? Why what's his name? Sasha Dewan's master doesn't talk about Michelle Gomez's master, right? Doesn't talk about or Missy, or doesn't talk about past generations where these other masters have done that before. They have had a little bit of things. The only thing that ever talks about a former masters where they use the fucking shrink device, right? The miniaturization thing, right? That's the only time they ever call back to a former master. That's the only thing. And if this character was the Time Child, I would always have that feeling that this character, and it would make more sense why the master's angry, because it would be like, Doctor, I hate that you're made from me, right? Like you're basically a part of, there's the part of me in you that's good, and that would have been such a good fucking storyline.
Let me explain what it should have been. So it should have been that the Doctor has the memories from before she existed, and so she's like, "What's this? Oh, I must be the Timeless Child. I seem to have the memories of the Timeless Child." And then the Master reveals, tells the story of the Timeless Child, and then says that it isn't her, and that basically the Doctor was given the memories of the Timeless Child to help in the Time War, because it could be helpful, and which fixes the issue that some people have with the Cartmel Master Plan. Where people thought it made the Doctor too important. No, the Doctor here is, in my one, it is a normal person who just was given a specific set of DNA that gave her lots of different memories from before, and it fits with the Seventh Doctor era, where the Seventh Doctor is remembering lots of things going on, and is questioning who he is.
I just think it's dumb. But let's go into the next episode that we all had an opinion on, which is the next episode for the next Doctor, which is David Tennant's Doctor, which is season 4's Midnight. So I'm gonna start with Tom. I will break your face. I will start with Tom and what was your opinion of Midnight?
Alright, so Midnight proves to me how much talent was behind the show during this period, because they managed to make an episode about being on a bus, and that's basically it for the entire episode. And it's one of the best episodes of the revival. Like, it's so well done. Now, I'll be honest, I prefer Turn Left personally, but that's just personal preference. But Midnight is really good, and something I love about this is that far too often does the Doctor, get everyone on side, and he becomes the leader of the room and like takes charge. That's something that the Doctor always does. That's kind of what he's done for. So to just have that completely backfire on him, completely go the other way, is such an interesting idea for a story, because it barely ever happens. The Doctor actually losing barely ever happens. And when it does, it's not really focused on, like in Victory of the Daleks, he's like, I lost. It's like, yeah, but you still got rid of the Daleks though. And it's like, and it's like, well, you still didn't really lose because they're gone. But,
you saved everyone you were meaning to save, so...
But with this, the Doctor is in genuine danger. Well, until the sort of timeless child,
Oh, fuck up!
Yeah.
It's ruined everything! God damn it, man.
The Doctor is genuinely in danger in this episode, because he is literally being possessed by this entity, and no one believes him, and everyone thinks that it's, him who's the issue when it's really the woman. And can we just point out how good the acting is in this?
Yes, that is why we chose the acting of everyone. Even fucking Merlin was so good. Just
I am Jeffro.
so good. Okay. I'm gonna let you finish your opinion before I get into mine. But
Yeah.
Like, I feel for me, like, obviously this was probably the least the episode that had the least money spent on it. The lowest budget of series 4. But it doesn't feel like that.
No.
That's the thing. Somehow they managed to make a bus feel epic in scope, because you see these vague shots of this glistening city outside, and like you see these like vague shadows of something coming in, and it feels so much more grand, because they do they don't have to spell out everything and show everything. Like in the modern show, we get these huge sweeping shots of destroyed Gallifrey and stuff, and it's like, that's great, but I don't always think it's necessary. If you write something good enough, you don't need all these fancy effects and planets, because like that, and Midnight is a core example of that. And I think another great example from this series is Planet of the Dead. It's not as strong. And it also
I very much love that episode.
It's not as strong, but like it still does show that you can basically just film in a desert with a bus.
Yeah.
And it's still entertaining. It's not as strong, nowhere near as strong as Midnight, but it just is a testament to the fact that you don't always need to spend a bunch of money to make the episodes good. And I feel like that's something that the show's kind of lost. It's the fact that people won't make fun of Doctor Who's effects if the stories are good. People make fun of Doctor Who's effects when there's, when everything else sucks as well. That's the thing. That's the thing. Exactly. Like, the thing is, would people have really complained about the thing if we'd have barely seen it and it was just a shadow? I don't think they would have. I think that would have made that episode so much more effective if it was just a shadow just airing through the ship. Like a silhouette, like, what I mean? It was just...
Or if it was like just under the floor eating the cables the whole time.
I think that would. I mean, personally, if I were to rewrite that episode, I'd rewrite it with a weeping angel. Because how awesome would that be?
I before I go into my opinion, and then we'll go to questions about this episode, right?
Yeah.
I do not like what they've done with the like. Modern Doctor Who doesn't understand why people like specific villains. Why do people like the Cybermen? Why do people like the Weeping Angels? Why do people like the Daleks? They don't understand why people like them. They just think bad, scary thing. That's why they like them. No, it's the stories that these monsters are being built around. That's why people like these monsters. The first Weeping Angel story was so goddamn good because the way it was structured. It didn't have the Doctor in it, right? You had these two people. You're not meant to you don't know who they are. They're meant to be random people, right? But the way you're scared is because it shows one, the Doctor failed to these monsters already, and the Doctor's so desperate, right? The Doctor needs help from these two random people, and in the way it structures the episode back by using the notes from the Doctor to help these people keep themselves alive. It's just, it does time theory really good. It's just so well compact. I don't think that modern episodes get why writing of a monster also is why the monster is loved, not just the monster itself.
Yeah,
I think the Cybermen have had it roughest in what you're talking about as well.
They
because,
definitely have.
like, after Rise of Cybermen Age of Steel, the Cybermen are never really done good again. In Doomsday,
I would argue Nightmare and Silver, but go on.
what I'm saying is, in Doomsday, they make them look like really weak things that can just be easily defeated. And I know the Daleks are supposed to be the stronger ones, I know that. But could you not have had, like, 10 Cybermen gang up on one Dalek and take it out?
just back alley, back. Like, a Dalek's walking in the back alley by itself, and time goes zzz, and you just sees 10 Cybermen go, you will be deleted. And it just murders. Yo, I would have loved that. I would have been so. Actually, that would have been really cool. Just like back alley beating up a Dalek.
I've just had, one scene where a Cyberman takes out a Dalek.
Yeah, Ace did more in Victory of Remembrance of the Daleks in beating, destroying a Dalek than the Cybermen did. Like Ace with a baseball bat.
6 million of them.
Yeah.
Or however many of them there are, and then you get to things like, what's the next Cyberman episode after that? I actually forgotten.
It's the Next Doctor.
The Next Doctor. I have a soft spot for the Next Doctor, but it's barely about the Cybermen. And that's kind of a core issue as well, is that when the Cybermen are in something, it's kind of like window dressing. They always get put with the Master.
It's because Cybermen are always. This is an issue I have with Modern Doctors, because they're starting to write Cybermen as just weaker Daleks, which is not what they are.
They're the opposite.
The whole thing about Daleks is they have no emotion. The thing about Cybermen is that they can't have emotion, or it just ruins everything. So the good thing about a good Cyberman story, in my opinion, should have it should be very based around characters and tragedy, right? So let's say there's an episode where the Doctor, Ryan, Graham, and Yaz all go into they're all traveling to this random place, right? And then somehow it's been, I don't know, controlled by Daleks. I'm just going to the top of my head, right? And at this moment you need tragedy to happen, right? So you have it so one of them goes missing. Let's say Graham goes missing, right? And Ryan's getting really scared at the fact that Graham's just gone and you can't hear anything about him. And then the next time you see Graham, it's him about to be turned into a Dalek. Not a Dalek, sorry, a Cyberman, right? And then Ryan isn't able to save him, and that's how Graham dies, right? And then you go to the idea that is it better to leave? So the Doctor's like, oh, we just gotta go. We're not gonna survive this, right? That's what the Doctor's saying, right? And then this is where, if I was doing a Dalek story, a Cyberman story, the decision would then go to the Doctor or the companions, right? Would it be better to keep Graham in this state of just pain, or to let him feel emotions again, but that will cause him to die, right? Which is the thing that they'll have to do, and that's the dilemma, right? That's the thing that I love about Cybermen, is because you can really go into the idea of feelings hurt, even good ones, and that's what they don't get. And then it's about suppression of feelings. It's about how you gotta have a smiley, a happy face, right? You can't show emotions.
That's sort of what they did with the Series 7 finale with Bill.
Yeah, but then the issue with Bill is, right, they were stupid in the way they did it, because they also had the Master.
Yeah.
The Master took away from that emotion, which is why I didn't like that.
Something that I don't like about that conversion process is that Bill Potts could still feel. And I get the idea that she's supposed to be strong and supposed to be able to penetrate the Cybermen, but doesn't that kind of make them look weak as well? That one person can not be affected by the emotion changing, and doesn't it kind of make them look a bit less threatening if we constantly cut back to Bill? Don't get me wrong. There's some great moments with that when she's looking at herself in the mirror, or she's saying that I'm not upset, and she's crying on the inside.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is a really good. That is a really good moment.
The children being
one of my favorite visuals is where she sees herself and then she cries, and then her tear is the tear on the Cyberman. I'm like, bro, that got me. I was like, oh no.
Don't get me wrong. that there's really good parts to that, but then at the same time, it kind of makes the Cyberman conversion process look a bit like weak.
I get what you're saying.
It's like,
And then Razor was sort of just hamming it up. The Master was hamming it up as Razor in part 1, sort of ruining the conversion process.
I hate that the Cybermen have basically become the Master's lackeys now. I hate it.
The Master
I think that can be done well, but it shouldn't be done all the time.
The Master,
It's like every 2 series. That's the thing. It's like every 2 series, it's the Cybermen and the Master.
this is what they also don't get. That the Master's character is meant to be is thematically it's meant to be. What if the Doctor wasn't good? That's generally what the Master is. Just simple as if you base level wanted to without giving all the background or deep relationship between the Doctor and the Master, right? If you're simply just giving what is the Master, right? It's like you just go the Doctor but bad. That's generally what the Master is, and they don't get it. The Master's treated so stupid in every iteration so far. Other than John Simpson was kind of like the only time that John Simpson wasn't stupid is when he basically became the Prime Minister and basically ruled Britain and then basically caused the destruction of the world. And the Doctor was only able to fix that by spinning back time, and like that I loved. That made the Master seem so fucking powerful, and then they bring it back to a simple emotion of the Doctor, of the Master, and then neglecting his wife. That's why he died. That's just like, and I love that. I love how it's so. That was simple in its nature, and then the Doctor's like regenerate. That also makes me laugh all the time.
Regenerate!
But it's like this is the one thing I don't like about Sacha Dhawan's Master, right? Is that they don't get that the Doctor and the Master were friends. Like they did have a friendship. They and the idea where the Master just full on hates the Doctor. No, it's not like that. It's like the Master is the Doctor, but has a complete different ideology and that an idea.
It's more like a sibling rivalry than anything else.
Yes, that's how it's meant to be. That's how I see it.
It's kind of a
Where it's like, they wind each other up. They do bad things to each other, but in the end, they do feel like they do have feelings for each other, and they do appreciate each other and are friends with each other.
What?
I could tell it's gonna go on for hours.
No, it's fine. It's
It
good.
goes on one subject this whole hour.
But this is the last section. This is the last section. It's the podcast. I mean, no, it's the gaming. No, I mean it's the film and TV.
I'm enjoying it, yeah, but fucking hell.
You don't have much time to edit down. It's just me. This is on me. It goes down to me to edit it down, but it's fine.
How I tend to view the Doctor and the Master's relationship is that they mess up the academy and they shared a dorm together, and they were basically like twins. Like they were basically living as if they were twins through their time at the academy. They know each other inside and out.
I see. If I give you a hypothetical situation, it's like if someone from Scotland and someone from London both went to the same university, right? They're both there. They're both trying to learn the same thing, but they both do it for a different reason. They both have a different view of the world, right? That's just kind of how it is, and that's how the Master and Doctor are. So they both meet, and they both have the same ideology. Let's say they both like I don't know, shoes or let's say fashion, the simplest way, right? They both come in. They both come in from these different backgrounds, and they both like fashion for a different reason, right? But then what they want to do with that changes, and that's where they branch away. That's how I kind of see the Doctor and the Master. They both come in. They both want to be Time Lords. The Doctor wants to be a Time Lord to kind of like help as much as he can, and the Master wants to be a Time Lord because he thinks that's a way for him to rule everyone, aka be the Master of all. Right, the Doctor can be the healer. Right, that's where they chose their names from. Right, and then that's what branches them away. So you could do stories where the Master and the Doctor want the same thing, but how they want to do it is different. The Master and the Doctor, let's say because I wish there was a story, right, where the Master and the Doctor both want, because this is what I would do, right. The Master and the Doctor, let's say they both see a planet, right, and they both see that they're suffering on the planet, right, and the Doctor's mentality is, I want to help these guys by fixing the issue, but then the Master's mentality is, I want to help these guys by ruling them all and setting the rules for them, right. So the Master's idea of saving everyone is I personally will rule over all of you and govern everything you do. Right, I will control your life, making sure it's perfect. But then that's when it comes to the idea. that's when the idea comes. He becomes a dictator, and that's an issue, right? Because it doesn't allow people to have freedom. Whereas the Doctors want to be, I'm trying to solve your issue. That's how I would see the Doctor and the Master do a situation differently. But no, how the Master is written nowadays is, I just hate the Doctor, I'm gonna kill you. But not now, I'm gonna kill you in 20 minutes. Because I don't want to kill you now, because it's not part of the Master plan. Fuck off!
One thing I will say, right, is I'll give to every Master, including Sasha Dewan's Master, and Sasha Dewan's Master, or more specifically, I really enjoyed the performance. But like, what I will say is, I'll give every Master is, I love the sort of undertone that the Master always feels inadequate.
Yes, that's perfect. Yes,
I love that, and that's.
I love the whole thing that Russell did in. Well, it was actually Stephen Moffat in Time Crash, where he got David Tennant to say that the Master, because the Master had a wife, it was like he had a beard. And that, like he's secretly gay, and he's like, he feels inadequate about it and stuff. Like,
it just works when the Master feels, because the idea of the Master feeling small also goes into the mentality of him, because if he feels small, he just wants to control everything, right? And he can't, and he just doesn't have the. Why can't he do this when the Doctor can do all of these great things? There's a line in when like it's not for this context, but it's kind of similar. It's when I forgot where Yana is regenerating into John Sims' Master, and he's like, "Oh, if the Doctor could be young and strong, so can I." And that's just a small line to show the jealousy of this dude.
hello.
Like, I get it, you're regenerating now, but why do you gotta say that? You're just so jealous of everything, and it just shows how the Master as a character can be so good, and like. If they give the Master an opportunity to like, me and Chris, if no one knows who's listening to this, right? We, as a fun thing, me and Chris write our Doctor Who thing, right?
And Jonah, and our friend Jonah.
Yes, but Jonah's not part of this podcast, is he? So I don't have to mention him. But what we do is we bounce off a lot of ideas, and we have this kind of thing, and I've always said that I want a series, right, where the Doctor has lost, and it's him dealing with the loss. Not an episode, a fucking series of him dealing with his loss. Because he wins all the time. And I would love a series where...
Midnight. Sorry cutting off there, that's why Midnight works so well.
Yes, yeah.
Him basically losing, you know, for the most part. Okay, off it.
He lost, and it's powerful. This God lost to humans, like, and basic human fear is what causes this God to nearly die, and that's just a really it shows how numbers is also as effective as just general power, and it's this idea that if the Master won by being smart, because the Master is smart. People, I don't know why they always write the Master as an incompetent idiot. The Master is smart as shit. Right, like and the
actually to the Doctor. That's the sort of the point. It's supposed to be like as smart as the Doctor. Using intelligence in a different way.
Yeah, and if they just had an episode where, like, let's say the end of a series where the Master wins, and then the next series is the Doctor dealing with this loss and trying to find a way back from Nanos, and that's that whole series, right? I would love that, because then one, it will give the Doctor some characterization, it will give the Master some characterization, and also make him more brutal and make him actually win things. Because that's one issue I have with Doctor Who villains; they don't win enough.
Yeah, and I personally love it if like part one is like setting up the subplot for the series, and it's like it just feels completely different, almost like it's been forgotten, and then like the main storyline gradually comes in.
It's just, man, I could talk about Doctor Who forever, but we've got to move on to the next section, which is, not next section, sorry, the next series episode.
I didn't.
Oh no, you didn't say yours. Yeah. Sorry, say why you like Midnight. I forgot.
Midnight, because I watched Dalek and Midnight back to back. I actually realised I prefer Midnight to Dalek. And oh man, I like Russell wrote Midnight in like 3 hours or something.
What?
Because but he had like an episode that he had like there was an episode that was supposed to be in series 3, which couldn't be made in the end. It had a number of episodes or something.
and he moved it to Series 4, and then it didn't fit with the tone of Series 4. So he had like 3 days to write something new, and he wrote it in a matter of hours. And,
That is amazing.
yeah.
Russell T Davies though, like that just shows how much like the talent sort of fallen. Like we've gone from that someone who can write midnight in like a weekend
And
to
people
to
forget.
a guy who takes 2 years to make 10 episodes.
Yeah, and people forget
Yeah.
like T Davis' era was consistent in
Yeah.
releases.
It was
Consistent.
always Doctor Who starts at Easter. Torchwood, is every 15 months. Sarah Jane is every September. Confidential is always on when Doctor Who's on. It was all the time. The show was
This
never
guy
up
did
there.
so much and loved Doctor Who. You could see it in what he wrote and how much and how hands-on he was with every series. Like, even though he did let Chibnall write a lot of Torchwood, right, he still had a lot of creative.
Well, I mean,
control.
he did get Noel Clarke to fix his work. So
It's just man, how could you fall
Yeah.
from T Davis to goddamn Chibnall? T Davis
Yeah.
was so good. It's simple. Doctor Who. What you can do to fix Chibnall era Doctor Who to make it feel more like T Davis's, right? Ground these stories.
yeah.
Focus on characters and plot lines of these characters. If you want a plotline of Yaz, okay, sorry. Where the fuck did that Yaz plotline come from? Sorry, about her being her being scared of being a policewoman. Where did that come from?
Wait, what episode was that?
And Can You Hear Me, where she's like depressed
Oh,
and it's like never brought up
goodness.
for like any other episode.
Where did it
Of
come from?
course
It
it
just
was
came out of
Can You Hear Me.
nowhere. I remember watching that going, did I miss a series or an episode where they introduced this storyline? Because she just randomly came up going, I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know. I had this mentor who told me like a 50p coin or some shit like that. Right? I'm not good enough.
Seemed perfectly fine.
I'll say that you just don't just like not be depressed for like 2 years and then all of a sudden it comes
Yeah.
back for like half an hour. It's like that's not how it works.
It just
No.
makes because if you wanted that to be a plotline from the very beginning, you could start off with like maybe Yaz is not thinking she's good enough for a job. So the reason she went to do this exploration thing instead of being called by Ryan is because she's trying to prove herself, right? That would be her story, and that's how she meets the Doctor, right? Because she's trying to prove herself. Because she hears this thing and she's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do that myself. Then she goes and meets Ryan and like, oh, Ryan, okay. Oh, it's this alien thing. Don't touch it. Oh no, now we got aliens, right? And then the whole thing is that she doesn't feel she's good enough with the Doctor, right? She Doctor's always talking to these other people. That could be her storyline, right? That could be what you do if you ground it down and have that. The only good.
Yeah.
In Praxius, wasn't it? She says something to the effect of, "Oh, I thought I finally found an alien planet on my own." I'm like, that's a good idea for a companion. The problem is
Yeah.
that you never actually
Focus on it, yeah. Because
Maybe
she
they will for Series 13, because apparently she's staying and everyone else is leaving, so maybe like they'll finally do something with Yaz.
Yeah, but apparently they're bringing back the girl from Praxius.
I don't like her. She's
You don't
too.
need another companion. You don't need.
Yeah, you don't need another game. Like my issue,
No,
my
you
issue.
don't.
Let me get down to the gritty, the details. Not the details, but the generalness of my issue with Doctor Who at this exact moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't know that like it's trying to be something it isn't. It's trying to be this amazing like, oh, look at our visual effects. Oh,
Yeah.
look at our empowering message about females and female lead characters, right? You could have good female lead characters by writing good fucking stories. And then people go,
Yeah.
no, but stories are opinions and sometimes people don't like the stories. Yes, but do you not know the Doctor Who fan base?
That's the whole point of creativity. And,
Do you not know the
know,
Doctor Who fan base, right? Fucking T. Davis wrote everyone to be a bisexual character, right? Or everyone to have this like everyone. It was very very London feeling, even though London isn't the UK. Even though like, and it still had this feeling about.
and it was filmed in Cardiff.
Yeah, but the idea is it has this London feeling of this like young well, I was gonna say precariat. That's kind of rude, but it's kind of like young. I would say precariat girl who just doesn't have anything in life, and that's meant to be the fan base, right?
I keep hearing you doing like robot noises.
Wow. But it's meant to be this young precariat girl who doesn't have anything in life, which is meant to be the Doctor Who audience, right? And then showing them this massive world, right? I guess they did that, trying to do that with Ryan, with a character with a disability, right, or an old character, or a female character. But none of these people, I think, really really connects to the Doctor Who audience. To the point where no one cares about these characters.
Like, remember a moment in Fell to Earth when Ryan does YouTube and it's literally never brought up again.
But also, the YouTube doesn't make. Okay, this is the last thing.
That would have been really cool.
This is the last thing, but this because me and Chris have a character where she has like a blog thing, right? And I like it. But one of the ideas is like, right, not the ideas, but one of the things that I dislike before we move on to the next episode, right? Is
there was actually one point I was going to make about Midnight that I wasn't able to, but go on.
One thing I dislike about it started off with T. Davis really understanding his audience and understanding the kind of like level of slang or feel of slang you would use. Then Moffat kind of made Doctor Who feel very old, right, and very much more for an older audience, but it still worked for the younger audience because the Doctor was really really silly, and that was kind of a thing to bring younger audience. But then when we go to what's his name? Eccles. No. Capaldi. There you go. Sorry, how can I forget his name? He's my favorite Doctor. But when we go to Capaldi, right? He's one is meant to be this kind of like, it's meant to be for everyone. It's meant to be like you're getting these wise lessons from this old character. Then you go to Jodie's Doctor, and I don't get the feel. Like, it doesn't feel real. Like, the only time that ever feels real is when we're in Yaz's apartment with her family. That's the only time Doctor Who ever feels real to me. Is when her dad is sitting there going, Alexa, and doesn't understand how it works because it's a big boomer. That's the only time.
There is one scene I appreciate, like, that makes it feel real other than that. And it's the one scene in Can You Hear Me where Ryan's friend suffers with mental health. And at the end, he goes to a meeting counselling for it. I do genuinely think that was a really good message that needs to be told and was well done, because obviously, as particularly male mental health, it's not really something that gets a ton of media attention, and it's a huge issue. Like, I remember seeing once that only like 55% of men say if they have like mental issues. Only 55% of men talk about it. So that's like almost, half of men who don't talk about it. And that is an important message to get across. And it was well done. It was tastefully done. And I'm just like, where were you one series ago? Yeah. Where was this from the get-go? That's the thing. It feels like this era has potential. And this is what annoys me about it. There are glimmers. And there are times where I can see a version of this show where it's genuinely really good. Like, I can see a version of this era where Jodie is a lot more of a presence and a lot more active, like in Villa Diodati. There's moments where I can see
less of a focus on the
character. But unfortunately, as you said, like they just don't focus on stuff that they should be enough. And I think a reason for that is A, the writer's just not talented enough, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
B, they clutter the story up with too much shit. Like, they have like 10 side characters per episode. Like, Orphan 55, you've got like...
Oh, goodness. Benny!
Like, when they brought back Captain Jack, he had more characterization in the snippet that he was in than 2 series with fucking Yaz. Like, he came in, he was like, oh, I'm interested in, I like the idea of a female Doctor. We established again that he likes every kind of character, anyone, right?
He could have stuck around for a couple of episodes.
What did you say?
He could have stuck around for a couple of episodes.
The idea is that I think is that he's coming back next. The idea I think is that he's coming back next series.
But imagine him like just having some witty banter with the gay couple in Praxius. Like that would have been really funny.
Also, okay, we're gonna go to the next episode, but I'm just gonna say this one last comment. I hate how what's his name? Chibnall is doing world building, because his world building is, if it's quirky, it's alien, and that doesn't make sense. It's like the idea, like, what if a man was pregnant now?
That episode.
Like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Where does the baby come out? How does it happen? What's going on? It makes no sense. Like.
So you just mentioned now that.
My brain was seriously hurting after watching that episode. Like I was in physical pain.
It's bad. But anyways, we're gonna go to the next episode, and I'm gonna start with my opinion, because you guys start with yours on each one. So I'm gonna start with my opinion, which is, and the reason for this, because this was my suggestion to put this episode in, because I really like Vincent and the Doctor.
It's alright.
I really like it. It's not my favorite Matt Smith episode, but we put it in here because we didn't want, because we thought the best Matt Smith episode was at the 11th hour, but we couldn't put it in because the 11th hour was the idea. The 11th hour is the first episode with our Doctor. We didn't seem it was fair, because that episode would be all about that Doctor, right? It would all be about him and what's changed, and it's a lot about the idea is that characterization of that Doctor in its first episode is very important for these regenerations, right? That's the idea.
We have a historical in here as well, just to cover that base as well.
But we did Vincent and the Doctor, because personally I think it is, because Vincent Van Gogh is one of my favorite artists, and a lot of the time,
he's the worst.
He's Chris. A lot of the time, his story. A lot of people don't know his story, right? And I don't know that Vincent Van Gogh had dealt with a lot of dark shit throughout his life, and he didn't get any fame until after he was dead. And I find that so traumatizing and just sad. And the idea that they gave this, they had this episode where they showed this character how loved he is in the end, but that's how that still wasn't what that still didn't fix his depression, right? It shows that depression's not easy to fix. It's not a simple thing. You can't just go and show. If someone says, "I'm scared that no one's going to remember me," you can't just go and show them they remember you, and that's going to fix his depression. That's not how it works.
No. And I love how Amy believes that.
Yeah, and then she sees that, and then that's the teacher that lesson. That like, not everything is simple. Not every and it's.
But that's why I don't like the ending, because like she learns that lesson, and then Vincent dedicated the sunflower painting to her.
I don't like how he dedicated the painting. I don't think that worked. I don't think that worked. But everything other than that, I think was just so good. The monster was simple. Matt Smith's performance was as good as ever.
I don't think the CGI was that good, if I'm being honest.
Yes, I do agree, but also with Doctor Who, so I don't really care. But like the idea that only this man could see it because of how he's able to see things in the world. It visually is telling you that his depression makes him see things differently. Visually, it's telling you that, and then they tell you that in a story level with how. Even though they show him how his life is important, that doesn't change his depression, right? And then these two elements, the way they've merged together into an episode about depression, about seeking help, about having friends, about not being alone during those dark times, right? Because the Doctor and Amy have to leave him, and that's and that makes him go back to that downward path, right? And those lessons from this episode is what I love so much, and I think is what makes this one of my favorite, just one of my favorite Doctor episodes in general, even though it's not loved by many people. To me, it's just really well done in its message, which is what I don't think modern Doctor Who gets. That you don't have to be so on the nose with the message. You don't have to go and tell me. You don't have to go and tell me depression bad. No, just show me how it affects someone, and as a competent person can see that's bad.
I will admit I think it would be a masterpiece if the Invisible Monster wasn't so on the nose, and then the ending was slightly different. But
Yeah.
I agree that it's a really good episode.
Like it's. If someone asked me what was Vincent Van Gogh like, or what was his story, I would just say watch Vincent and the Doctor. Like
Yeah.
it explains his thing, and it's also, even though I was talking about depression, it's also a fun episode, which is hard to do. It's hard to have deep, interesting, and dark themes and still have it be fun.
I love the bit where he is. I think it's like it's early morning and he's just woken up, and the Doctor and Amy are like trying to get him out of bed, and he is just having some sort of fit, being like just going mental, and it's like this is someone who is just completely out of it. Like that is not him, you know. You remember that bit?
Yes.
Yeah. Also, I think that this episode does historicals like probably the best I've ever seen them done. Where it's like it doesn't feel like a chore to learn about the stuff. It actually feels organic and well placed.
Yeah, it almost feels like a pure historical, if I'm being honest, because it's like the monster in it is connected
like,
to the character.
The monster doesn't feel obligatory either. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like in something like say I don't know, The Unquiet Dead, for example, or I'm trying to think of another historical off the top of my head, like Rosa.
Yeah,
Let's say for example, it's like you don't need a space racist who's like killed 6,000 people.
To tell you racism is wrong, you don't need that.
To tell you racism is bad, it just feels so unnecessary.
Yeah.
All you need for that episode, in my opinion, to work is just have the Rosa Parks stuff. Just have the Rosa Parks stuff. You know, maybe show some people who were in support, because obviously I know that there were a lot of racist people there, but there were some people who supported the movement.
yeah. I didn't like the fact that the only nice white guy in the story was Graham, and he ended up being the one to get her out of her seat.
What I would have done with Rosa is I would have had it. See, the thing that made the issue was the Doctor being there, right? But also because I have this, because Chris knows it because he's doing the writing thing with me. But I have this concept with Doctor Who that time always happens, but you don't know time always happens, and that's what causes paradoxes, right? A paradox is the universe fixing itself because that shit was always meant to happen, right? But you don't know it's always meant to happen because you're just experiencing it. So it's like you're not knowing everything is predetermined, right? And the Doctor being there and Graham being there always happens, right? But the discrepancy is the Doctor traveling there, right? The initial traveling there. Let's say someone saw the TARDIS, right? And on the way traveling home, right? Upon seeing the TARDIS, the guy or hearing the TARDIS, the person goes, "Oh, I don't," or like let's say a black person goes, "Oh, I don't want to go down there because maybe something bad's happened. I'm gonna go home a different route, right? Because of the racism, right?" And then that causes a slight discrepancy. Let's say Rosa gets gets something from her job late or whatever, and that causes her to get on the wrong bus, right? That could be the small discrepancy, but you still learn about
if like the Doctor caused it to be more effective.
That's and then it goes to the episode is fixing that issue, right? And then upon fixing that issue, you learn about Rosa's past, about how what kind of person she was up until the point where she got arrested for not getting up on the bus, right? You see her struggle. Yeah. That's what I would have done instead of going space racist. I would have made.
What I would have done is sort of have it where they're not supposed to be there, if you know what I mean, and so sort of like the opposite to what you were saying, and have it where Graham is a bit too nice, and then when he gets on the bus and he sees that Rosa Parks is about to get up from her seat, he's like, no, don't worry, I'll stand up, I don't mind, and then that changes everything, and then all of a sudden Ryan starts to fade away, and it's like he never
black people no longer exist.
It's just like, oh no, what have we done? we just destroyed the most important thing in the universe.
And then again going back to this thing about I told Chris this what I did of fixed points in time is fixed points in time always happen. no matter what, right?
Fixed points in time only really exists if you live through it and it's part of your personal
Yes.
timeline.
Because one of the issues that anyone always asks is what makes something a fixed point in time, right? Well, how does the Doctor know what a fixed point in time is? And I always imagine a fixed point in time being something you know happened, right? So let's say I know that World War II happened, right? So because I know that, that's a fixed point in time. But someone before World War II doesn't know what happened, so to them, it's not a fixed point because it hasn't happened yet. So my idea is that fixed points are only things that you know is going to happen. And because the Doctor is however old, the Doctor knows certain things are going to happen, like the thing in the Waters of Mars episode. The Doctor knows that's going to happen, so the Doctor goes, "Shit, I can't change this." But to you, everything is always laid out. Time always is trying to fix itself to have this specific, unique timeline. And let's say Rosa standing up on the bus is a fixed point because the Doctor knows about it, the companions know about it because it's history, right? And if that changes, then time is trying to fix itself, which is a paradox, and then that's when the issue comes into the situation where it's constantly trying to fix itself. That's how I see
to the individual.
Yes.
I would actually use Father's Day as a good example because at the beginning of Father's Day, the first time round where Rose is going to comfort her dad as he dies, or even save his life, that time can sort of fix itself then, because it's like time can be rewritten, paradoxes, and time can fix itself up, sort of thing. But when they go the second time and Rose says to him, she disrupts her personal timeline, and that's what causes the paradox.
What I would say is, how I would do that episode is, the first time doesn't cause a paradox because Rose specifically doesn't know. Let's say Rose always knew the story of her father dying, right? But her mother never told her where or when, so she doesn't know that exact information.
She just sees it happening, and it's like, someone's dying, I'll save him.
Yes, and then she saves, and then she does that, and she goes, "Oh fuck!"
Oh
right?
no, that's my dad from the picture. Oh.
And then exactly that moment, that's when Reapers come out, because then she knows that she's messed up a fixed point in time, and then that also hammered on the episode that the idea that to fix that he has to die. Because I think that in that episode it doesn't really explain well that him having to die is what would fix time. And that's what causes fixed point. Because I
think it's because they were supposed to make it an example of show don't tell.
Yeah, but sometimes tell works. Sometimes tell works.
Show and tell is sometimes best.
But yeah, that's how I that's what I think about paradoxes. And I think because I say this to Chris all the time, Doctor Who needs rules. It's time travel.
It has rules. Rule 1: the Doctor lies.
God damn it! But it needs rules to the point where it's like the first episode. It doesn't need rules that are limiting its storytelling, right? Because rules can also impact storytelling. The rule of paradoxes. One of the strongest episodes, which is Waters of Mars, for me, is tells the story of what if the Doctor said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna change a fixed point in time," right? And then how the universe fixes itself, but sometimes it will just be in a worse way, right? Because it's still trying to fix itself at a fixed point in time. I like that story. So you can have rules in Doctor Who and still tell great stories with it. But the issue that Doctor Who has is they don't want rules, because whenever a showrunner changes, they're trying to bring something else to it, and that would be a limiting factor if there was rules between showrunners. But I do think there should be rules. There should be a sheet by the BBC going, "These are rules for the story. Please follow these." Done. That's it. And then the producer makes sure that it's followed. That's all. Done. Thank you. Yeah. Anyways, let's go to the next. Let's go to the next.
Oh no, there's one quick thing I wanted to say about Vincent and the Doctor.
Yeah.
There's a very interesting scene, which is Vincent van Gogh is from Holland, and he says that Amy must be from Holland as well because she has the same accent, but she's Scottish and it's a very different accent. And I like how it's like Stephen Moffat continued something from Russell Zero with the whole thing of like whenever you go somewhere in the TARDIS translates it like to the letter sort of thing. Translates it completely accurately. Yeah.
That's another thing.
Finds Pop Day when Donna tries to speak the lingo in
Latin.
she tries to speak Latin, and everyone just gives her funny looks. It's like I love that because
It's like, oh no, we don't speak Welsh here.
we all speak Welsh. Blay cool. What does that mean? Bad Welsh.
Oh no.
It's I also like it's also like the episode where they look the monument, whatever the fucking episode that was called. It made no sense because they wouldn't be able, like, those guys would not be speaking English. And as hard as it's nowhere near,
No.
so they should be speaking an alien language. This is where I would have. This is where I would have
subtitles.
Yeah, I would have alien language subtitled. That's what I would have.
Yeah,
It really
and they
make
got-
it feel like an alien planet.
And the Doctor has to try and translate everything.
Oh, yeah, because the Doctor knows fucking like every. God, I hate Jim so much. But we're moving on to the next one.
to be fair, like the idea of the Doctor knowing every language has been established for a long time.
Yeah.
Like that's been something that's existed for a long time. But like one thing I will say about
it before the TARDIS translation and everything.
one thing I will say about before we move on to Under Lake Full Flood is that this episode to me shows like Matt Smith. Can I just talk about Matt Smith for a second?
Yeah.
He is the most underrated modern Doctor. in my
Matt
opinion.
Smith and Peter Capaldi are my favorite. Like, everyone always says, "Oh, I love David Tennant. I love Eccleston." Right?
Eccleston's good.
But to me, I go, fuck that. Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi are the best Doctors in my opinion.
The thing is, with Eccleston's seen like a resurgence in popularity recently. Ten's always been popular because he's Ken. 12 is, I would say 12 is again one of those, because he's like the most recent one before. Because he was the most recent before Jodie, he's still quite fresh in people's minds, so he's still pretty popular. And then in between those two Doctors, you've just got 11, and no one really talks about 11. And I think that's a real shame, because, in my opinion, he is the strongest Doctor of the revival.
Yes.
He takes what works about Eccleston and Tennant. He takes some of the broodiness, he takes some of the sort of giddiness and the excitement, combines it with this sort of childlike sense of wonder, and this sort of. But despite that, you can tell that it's sort of a cloak for his actual age.
Yeah,
How old he really is.
you can see that. You can see and hear and feel that Matt Smith is acting as his old, wise character,
and
and
you combine all this stuff together, and it's just works.
and because he's so old and wise, he knows that him being this quirkiness it adds to its unpredictability. It adds to all of these elements which, like, Matt Smith's Doctor is in, like, I love Matt Smith's Doctor for a specific reason, because he has like every element of what I love about the Doctor's character. Like, Matt Smith can do the angry rage of the Doctor so well. He can do the loving but sad, like, wise man, the guy who's looking at, like, he treats all these people as his children, even though, like, Amy's basically his mother. Like, weird. But he treats these people as his children. He's as his children, and it's like, I'm showing you things I've seen, right? And I know you're gonna love it. It's like your granddad trying to tell you about the war, right, or whatever, or telling you about the good old days. That's Matt Smith's Doctor showing these people the good old days, and he just wants them to love it, and I love him.
He's like your fun granddad mixed with your cousin.
Yeah. He's your fun granddad mixed with your cousin, mixed with your angry dad. That's what he is. He's the mixture of all of those. Matt Smith, I do agree, is underrated as hell.
He really is, like, I would say as well, because no one really knew who Matt Smith was when he came out either.
He was a footballer.
I think he was at one point, but he arguably had the hardest task of any modern Doctor, because he had to come after David
Tennant, who was loved by everyone. I don't think people realize how like some people forget how
Who the
big
man?
Doctor Who was during when David Tennant was around. Everyone I knew watched Doctor Who. Even like I would go to my cousin's house to watch for Christmas, right? We'd stay over there. I would watch Doctor Who, and people would come and watch it with me. I would remember that, like, wait, these guys, how do you know about Doctor Who? They go, I love Doctor Who, it's great. And then after the years, I would go watch Doctor Who, and they're like, you're still watching this? Man, wow. But I remember those days where David Tennant was so big, everyone watched it. It was everywhere.
I became a fan of Doctor Who because everyone was talking about Silence in the Library, and I was like,
Silence in the Library is so good.
there's something here. It's a two-parter. I'm gonna watch part 2, properly and actually pay attention and see what I think.
It's madness.
So we should go on to Series 8.
Yes, this is
Series
9. This is the last one, and then we'll end the podcast. But let's go into that one. I never I tell this. There was a time where there's a whole series of Doctor Who I didn't watch because of Clara, and it's the moment where I think this was the series where Chris was like, "Have you seen this episode?" I was like, "No, I haven't," because I didn't watch the series, so I had to rewatch it, and I was like, "This is actually pretty good." But Clara as a character,
I switched on to Series 9.
I really dislike Kara. I disliked her so much. I actually laughed when she died as a character. I'm not gonna. When the thing went through her.
When I found out, I celebrated. Like I remember everyone being really upset at school, and I was just cheering.
But let me finish your take on before the like and under the like and before the flop.
Yeah, my take on it is that it's definitely probably one of the strongest episode of Series 9. Like, I'll be honest, I blocked out most of Series 9 because, it was kind of the series that kind of... The moment in Magician's Apprentice when Peter Capaldi comes in with a guitar on a tank and glasses was the moment I was like, new. And then, but the thing is with it is that at least it had moments where I'm like, oh... That's genuinely quite good sci-fi. Like, Heaven Sent is amazing,
Yeah, almost.
It has these episodes that are really good, which you can't say about Series 11. Like, you just can't say it about it, which is why I always rank Series 11 at the bottom and then Series 9, because with Series 9, there's at least episodes. There's something I can grab onto with Series 9.
Yeah.
There's some things that are there, Whereas there's some substance, there's some meat to what's being shown, and that's kind of what this is. My only sort of wish is that it was in a different series, to be honest. Because the reason I don't end up going back to it as often as, say, Vincent and the Doctor, or Midnight, or Dalek, as we've discussed, is because it's in Series 9, and Series 9 is just not a series or a time or an era of the show that I look back on fondly.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the same for series 11 and 12. Like, this era is not one that I look back on fondly.
This is probably the only episode that I like from Series 9.
Yeah, me too, to be honest. And with the new stuff, it's I look back on some things. I don't mind stuff like Can You Hear Me or Villa Diodati, but the chances of me actually revisiting them are pretty slim.
Yeah.
Because of where they are. And because of who wrote them, and because of the sort of the negative connotations, and I think that is something that personally drags this story down for me, personally, is that I don't associate it with a time where I liked the show. I associate it with a time where I actively was trying not to watch the show, which is why I probably don't have as much to say on this one, because, obviously, there was the blind guy wasn't there in this one, and
the deaf girl.
Yeah, the deaf girl. Sorry, wait. In Lake Fourth Flood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did I think blind? I don't know.
Blind guy as well.
Yeah, I don't know. But that was way better done than something like not Can You Hear Me? What's the one in Series 11 called? It Takes You Away. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That episode sucks.
The frog.
Yeah, but the blind girl in that, I'm sorry, I'm sure she's a lovely person, but the acting, man.
I'm not gonna say sorry. before I get cancelled. But it's me saying this. I know the intent of getting a legitimate blind girl to play a blind character, right? But then the limitations of like, you could get a blind character who actually also you can get a blind actor who actually knows how to say words in a language like, I don't think that was her first language, which also was an issue. This is just me assuming based off her accent and how she said words and so on and so forth, right? But I'm assuming that this wasn't her first language, but you could have got a character, because I get, you're trying to be in a foreign country and maybe she doesn't know English well, but like, there's other ways of making characters feel foreign without just having them have an accent or be speaking broken English.
Like, having an accent, that's not really an issue. If you can act with an accent, then that's fine. You know, Perry from the Sixth Doctor era had to put on an American accent when she wasn't an American. You know, it didn't feel forced. But like, I think the issue with her is that she's given so much. She's basically the emotional core of that episode, and it's kind of like with baby Anakin Skywalker in episode 1. It's kind of an unreal amount of expectations to put on somebody that young, and it's why generally, as a general rule, I don't like children in Doctor Who, because it just like, I think the worst example would be like, you know, Giannotti or like Courtney from Series 8, like. They're just annoying. They're just annoying, unfortunately. You know.
I think Children Doctor Who can work, but the way you use Children Doctor Who, it has to be very specific.
Like, it has to be more like Torchwood.
The only time I really liked it was with young Amy.
Yes, yes.
But the reason that works is because it directly ties into the Doctor's new sort of character being more childlike and whimsical, and it also ties into the companion's later development. Like, I feel like, imagine how much more developed Ryan would be if we saw him when he was younger and his father walked out on him. That'd be so.
Do you know how? Imagine, right? Because I had this idea one time when I was sitting, right. I was just sitting. Right? I had this idea. What if you had Ryan, right? Because the idea is Ryan forgave his dad way too fast. But two, if you had an idea with Ryan, right, where he's like, my dad left me, I don't like him, I don't ever want to see him again, and then his dad comes back, and then his dad leaves him again, right? But then he's like, well, I want to know why he left, right? I want to ask him how he felt exactly during the time that he left, right? And we have a time machine, because like, I can do that, but I can't. Look, you can't be the one to ask, or you can't tell him that you're Ryan, right? Or a paradox or something will happen, right? So you have Ryan go back, and you'll have Ryan see his dad leave. You'll have that scene. You'll have this emotion with this character. You'll see that, right? And then just have a moment of pause, because this is another thing that Modern Doctor doesn't have: is moments of pause, where Ryan would see his dad walk out and just not want to talk to him. Like, he just has a moment where he's like, maybe I don't want to find out. You know? Maybe that would change. Like I've always been angry at this dude, and this moment I could find out why. But maybe the issue is that I'm angry at this dude. Maybe I should just let it go. These are the moments that I think like having a child actor would help. Would be to really help the idea that, like, at that moment he would see himself being sad, but at that moment he would feel angry. Then he'd be like, I don't want to feel these emotions. I don't want to feel sad like I did then. I don't want to feel angry like I do now. Maybe the only way I can do that is forgive him, right? And then, God damn it, why is Doctor so shit right now at stories? Like, it's so simple, these stories you can do when you face it around characters and emotions, and they just don't know how to do it. But going back to the idea of children actors, I think children actors should only be used in Doctor Who when it's for emotional attachment to characters, not just for, oh, we get a child here to kind of go, whoa, look at the TARDIS, this is pretty cool. Like, no.
Yeah.
Like, if a child is coming into the episode, it's a show that
it should be like Children of Earth, where they sort of serve a purpose.
I was like a glitch in the Matrix right there.
But that's telling us we're at the tail end of the podcast. That always happens at the very end.
Hop off.
That's fine.
So thank you guys for having me.
Yes, we shall do the outro now. I will say that. Okay, so thank you everyone for listening to the G3 podcast. We I don't know if we're having a guest next week. We might not. It depends. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you Tom for coming. We would very much appreciate if you ever want to come to another episode again. This was great. We've very much liked your opinions. Tom's channel should be in the description of this video. Check him out, it's pretty cool. I think it's just Tom Harries now, right? Yeah, so audio listeners, just search up Tom Harries, TOMHARRIES on YouTube for his content. Good guy. Remember we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Say bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
I hate you.